Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I'm going to bring to you another money making guide. This is one that's kind of been on my radar for I'd say a couple of months now. I see a lot of people talking about it, so finally I'm going to cave in and I'm going to cover it. So for those who don't know, basically this method is the Mazda 787B at Sardinia, using the 800 pp event. Basically a little bit of a downgrade to the car, and then it's pretty much eligible to run this event. So as you can see, this is going to be our setup. Feel free to pause it at any moment and just copy it. Make sure you're using racing hards and basically adjust the settings as you see. The only other thing you need to add will be the fully customizable racing transmission, and pretty much just leave that as it is. You don't need to edit or make any manual adjustments to any of the individual gears. That will sort of it doesn't edit the performance points of the car like it used to, but if you just follow what's on screen, make sure you purchase a fully customizable racing transmission, obviously ballast and such, and obviously a set of hard tyres, and you should be all good to go to basically run this method. Obviously the track we're going to be using is in Europe. It's a Sardinia road track, obviously not the windmills, which is the dirt version, and it's a 800 pp 15 lap event, the World Touring Car one. This car is, like I said, fully eligible to run. So what we're going to be doing here is setting the fuel mix to 4, not 6. It will require you to basically do a bit of fuel saving, and maybe at the end you may have to maybe bump it down to fuel mix 6 if you haven't saved enough fuel, and run the last few laps basically that way on fuel mix 6. So as you can see, performance wise we have a pretty huge advantage over the rest of the field. Very good for grinding credits overall. So obviously this for me is definitely the better method. You can probably do pit stop methods, but I'd never really tried them, and I've never heard of basically anyone running them methods. The whole reason to use this car is because of its pretty insane fuel consumption. Very good on its fuel, very good on its tyres. We are basically overall going to do a 0 pit stop strategy. So the reason I didn't really cover this, even though I've seen it around in my comment sections and such for a couple of months now, is basically because of it being a legendary dealership car. So for those of you that don't have it already, you're going to be kind of waiting for it to appear and then maybe come back, check out this strategy, and then take it from there. That is the only real downside to it, is obviously having to wait for the legendary dealer to update. It's currently not in there, but I believe, if I'm right, it's either 1.8 million or 2.8 million. I'm not quite sure on that, you don't quote me, but it's not too bad money wise. So yeah, overall pretty good car for the money. You can obviously earn that money back pretty quick running this method. I believe it's around about over 1.5 mil per hour. So yeah, pretty good method. Basically the strategy is just run the fuel mix 4 and just kind of watch it and keep an eye on it. For me personally, I wasn't saving enough fuel and did have to kind of drop to like fuel mix 6 towards the end, just to make sure I got to the end. And obviously, as usual, just to clarify, you will get your clean race bonus no matter what, even if you hit the cars and such. The only thing you're really going to be doing is costing yourself time going off the track. The only way to sort of lose that clean race bonus is to overtake or stuff like that under yellow flags. That will actually cause you to lose your clean race bonus. Apart from that, you don't lose it at any point. I've made that mistake once in the past, and yeah, never again. There was some kind of comments floating around basically saying if you ran off track and such now that you lost it, but you don't. It is just literally under yellow flags, and that's when you're going to lose it. So into this method, obviously the first car is going to pit. That's going to be the leader at end of lap 4. You're basically going to overtake here, as you can see, and just use that straight line advantage, and kind of never look back after this moment. You're never going to have to worry about the AI again. This is on normal difficulty. If you want to make it even easier, throw them on easy, and you'll pretty much breeze past them within, I'd say, 1 or 2 laps. So as we go on to lap 6, the rest of the field are going to pit at the end of lap 5. Well, I say the rest of the field, the majority of them. Obviously this is when you're going to start really making, the gap up. You don't have to worry about them, but it's just cool to note that obviously that's when they pit. It's pretty much set in stone, I believe. Majority of the cars are doing a 2-stop strategy. There is a few that do 3-stop. I believe the original leader does a 3-stop strategy. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure I see his name up there about 3 times each time I run this event. So the main thing to note with this run really is to, really save your fuel. I'm going to kind of talk you through this and show you a bit of it. So on the screen, just watch how we kind of go about this. So obviously we're running fuel mix 4. What you want to do is just sort of really short shift, as you can see, straight up to 3rd gear. You don't have to really worry about a lack of power with this car. It does seem to pick up very well. And then obviously we're just going to sort of let the revs go up to around about, I'd say about just under 50% really. And then obviously you've got enough power to obviously carry yourself through the gears. But if you just kind of, in the back of your mind, kind of tell yourself like you need to be in a higher gear than you naturally would be, just do it that way, and that should save you enough fuel. For me, I did push a little bit too hard on a couple of laps, so I did have to sort of edit my fuel mix at the end. If you find yourself doing that, obviously just keep your eye on that lap counter, and if it's getting really, really short at the end, just put your fuel mix down to 6, and obviously go into full fuel saving mode, and you should be pretty all good. I can see some more cars pitting there on lap 9. So as we come over the line, basically to go on to lap 10, this is where I start catching the AI pretty regularly. The main thing you're going to do is just use that straight line advantage and sort of time it. As you can see, some cars coming out the pits. But yeah, just time your, when you're lapping the cars, just time it correctly. You don't really want to be caught up behind them or, running into them and just losing more time than you should, because the main thing about grinding is how quickly you can get it done. So again, end of lap 10, we're going to, pass a bunch of cars here. And as you can see, I'm just sort of using, the pros of this car to my advantage, trying to time the overtakes, pretty well, just so I don't get getting caught behind them. Another thing to note, if you do catch them when they're coming out the pits, like I have many a times, the AI does seem to drive really dumb, and sometimes they may just sort of act like you're not there. So if you get it wrong, you could find yourself being, spun around and turned around by the AI. Very frustrating. I have mentioned that in a couple of videos now, where they really do just act like you're not there, and the next thing you know, you're being spun around and you're just losing, a ton of time at that point. So the main things to take advantage, with this car is definitely that straight line speed, and also the downforce in the corners. Although we're running a sort of detuned 800 performance points setup, a good thing to note is that it still does have the majority of its downforce there, even in the higher gears. But it does feel like a little bit more weighty, as we can see a bunch of cars again taking their last stop on lap 11. I believe the leader pits a little bit later on. Well, I'll say leader, so the second place car does pit a little bit later on. But yeah, so just basically the advantage you're going to use, like I said, is that straight line performance, the downforce, but just be aware that the car can feel a little bit heavy at times, and if you're going to push too hard into a corner, you're probably going to find yourself maybe running wide if you're not too used to this car. But as you're using it, as you're getting used to it, you will sort of pick up your pace. As you can see, my lap times average from about 140 to like 143. It depends how much I'm fuel saving. As you can see, I've gone down into fuel mix 6 here, just to ensure I'm going to get across the line. I basically did that for lap 14, and then I had a lap fuel left at going on to lap 15. But one thing to note is I pretty much ran out of fuel on the last straight. So if you feel safer to run it fuel mix 6, there's not a massive difference in lap times. So feel free to do it that way. It may cost you just maybe a couple of attempts a lap. The tyres will hold on pretty much for the whole event, so you don't really need to worry about tyre wear. It doesn't really make any difference to like the feel of the car and such. Like I said, the downforce is always there. It just feels maybe a little bit too weighty. As you can see, this is where I've got it in towards the end in fuel mix 4 again. This is where you're going to note where I'm going to run out of fuel. And I'm sort of looking at it and thinking, do I, put it down a bit, or do I just keep sprinting to the finish? Because obviously it's all about time, and over a long period of time, it all adds up. Every second, every time you get took out, every time you get stuck behind the cars, it does add up if you, you know, you grind on the credits for those 20 mil plus cars. So yeah, as you can see, we've hit 0 and then the engine just goes boof, and you can see the speed dropping, and we're going to kind of roll across the finish. So overall we did it in around just over 25 minutes, so actually not bad at all. I can see why people, you know, recommend this method, and as usual it's 727,500 within about 25 minutes. But yeah, overall, let me talk about this method. Yeah, I kind of wish I covered it a bit earlier, but like I said, the fact that it's a legendary car and it's all time dependent kind of put me off making this video. But finally, I have got around to it. So all you guys saying 787B in the comments, look, I've covered it. You don't need to keep repeating it. But yeah, I would kind of recommend doing this method. It's a pretty good method, especially if you're more of a sort of strategic driver and you kind of want to mix it up and keep an eye on your fuels and such, even when you're grinding money. This method is definitely up your street, and it's the Mazda 787B, so it's, you know, a cool car, absolute legendary car. So, you know, being able to use it in an event is, you know, pretty awesome, really. So that's going to be this guide. That's going to be this video. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Big thank you to those that support me every day, and I'll hopefully see you all in the next one. Cheers very much, guys. Take care.